Hey guys, yours truly, Mr. Christian, host in chief. Got the pleasure of doing a one-of-a-kind interview, maybe even a world's first. We did a first podcast that we've ever done in virtual reality. Mr. Elbert Perez. I love this guy. He is a really cool dude. Full Sail University Hall of Famer joins me from Doghead Simulations, a company he helped co-found, and we're talking in a virtual conference room, which is a proprietary platform he helped develop. It's called Rumii. That's Rumii, and you can find that online at rumii.net. It's like a virtual reality room that can take many different forms or purposes, from enterprise use to entertainment and many more avenues that have yet to be utilized, based solely around VR. I mean, this is literally the most newest of new when it comes to a hybrid application. I've never seen anything like this, and I don't think there is anything like this, and I think Elbert knows that, and so do all the good dudes over at Doghead. We explored some of the features that this thing has, including 3D model rendering on the fly, file sharing, and even puppies on a 20-foot high screen. We recorded every bit of this with the help of some talented friends in the Doghead Simulations office. Head over to YouTube and type in A Perch of Birds Media to check out the YouTube video and share it and subscribe it. And of course, the link is in the description of the podcast. We legitimately had some guys get into this virtual conference room. If you guys can picture this in your mind, which is why you should go check out the YouTube video. It is truly awesome. But we had some people that were filming us while we were actually having this conversation and pulling up like a 3D rendered model. I don't want to give away too much, but it's really cool. So check us out on YouTube. We really appreciate the likes and the subscribes and all the above. Of course, I would not have been able to explore Rumii in all its proper wonder if the APOB crew didn't get some huge assistance from our friends in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Hinkle Family Fun Center. They let me use their HTC Vives setup and their ridiculous cool virtual reality bay. They got everything you need to go out and check out the HTC Vive with your family, with your friends. So get out there and check them out. Let me tell you guys, I've been going there to Hinkle since I was at least 10. They are a family-friendly, safe place with 11 really cool attractions, the newest of which is the virtual reality bay. But they have tons of stuff to do for the family. Visit these guys at hinklefamilyfuncenter.com. All right, Spider, kick us off. Well, welcome to Perch of Birds, first VR podcast, man. I've got Elbert here. Elbert, thank you for being here. Woohoo!
Yeah, thanks.
Elbert Perez is actually coming to us straight from Orlando. As you can see from his they've got this awesome like title on the top, and it's even got where you guys are at. Everybody in the room is all in Orlando. Oh, I guess this one says Rumii. So we've got Joseph Cassell, we got Liz Camacho, and Mr. Jacob Appleby. Thank you guys for helping us, and thank you guys for putting this thing on for us over there at Rumii, Elbert.
Yeah, anytime.
So, this is the place. So where am I standing right now?
So you are in the lobby of Rumii.
Okay.
This is the lobby where everyone kind of drops in and kind of figures out where they want to go. It's very analogous to a real lobby, like in the real world. So, for example, let's say I said, hey, Morgan, let's go meet in Rumii, and we'll all end up in the lobby and like, hey, let's go decide to go to room, and we can all decide where to go.
That's really cool. So this would be like essentially it's a lobby, but in a sense you can kind of chat in here. It's not just like a holder place like you would like loading for like a game, right? You actually can sit here and talk and mess around. I mean, how many people could you put inside of the lobby before you were to start like a conference or something?
You can start as little as yourself if you want to, be by yourself in a conference, or up to 30 people.
Wow.
So we can put a lot of people in here. That's why it's big, so we can fit the people.
Yeah, and then I noticed that you put our logo in here, which is super cool. And then there's more room, so I'm sure that you could put a bunch of those, right? Like you could have vendors in here. That is super cool. So we're using Vives all the way across, and then the idea behind Rumii is that we would be able to have like a meeting place if I wanted to have a podcast, or if I wanted to have like a conference talking about something for a business, right?
Yeah, exactly. So talking about Rumii and customization, another thing we have in Rumii is, as you can see, right, we have your logo here, Perch of Birds. So Morgan, what's your favorite color?
Besides black and white, man, which are really shades, I like blue, I guess. Let's go blue.
All right, blue. What kind of blue do you like?
Navy. Let's just go. You make it easy. Nice and navy.
Navy. All right. So let's make your wish come true. All right, a little bit more navy. What's your second favorite color?
Can I say black? Is that?
Yeah, we can do black.
Let's do black. Yeah, blue and black. Ooh, yeah, that's hot. I like that.
And let's go on the moon too. So.
Oh yeah.
So here's the cool thing about Rumii, right? You can be anywhere, right? You can be in the moon, you can be in Mars, you can be in the desert, you can be underwater. You can set up their room to however you want, and make it feel like your brand. Obviously you have Perch of Birds, and what we've done for so many companies is brand their lobbies, brand their rooms, so that they feel like it's their own space rather than some generic, Skype call or a GoToMeeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been in tons of those generic Skype and GoTo meetings. I work in healthcare and IT, so I can tell you firsthand that the majority of the time it's a very impersonal kind of experience, because you're for one, you have a screen. You don't have the ability to do the run-a-man, and then you also have yeah. And then I can't see your facial expressions this way, and I'm really digging how I can see you moving around in your eyes. It was that hard to get you guys to develop that? For customization purposes, I'm sure that was a big thing for you guys, is to make the eye contact. I noticed you talked about that on the site.
Yeah. So what we did is, so in April of 2016 was the first prototype. Everything was a lot stiffer, a lot more basic, but it took us 2 years to get to where we are right now.
Okay.
And a lot of it was learning and doing, because no one has really done anything like this before. There's a few apps out there. But we still kind of are blazing the trail for enterprise, so it's actually been pretty fun.
No, that's super cool. I like the fact that you guys, when you came up with this, you guys really put into the personal aspect. Even though you're in Orlando right now, and I'm actually in Albuquerque, we really shouldn't be able to walk around each other, but here I am. If I could figure out how to teleport, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've got the wall in front of me. I don't know.
No. If you have your middle finger, right? It's kind of resting on something ridged in your hand. Do you feel that? It's like a.
Are you talking about the trigger?
Not the trigger, the grip. So when you're gripping the controller, it's where you're. There you go. And now you can teleport around. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm sorry. Okay, now I feel silly. So this is probably my second time ever using a Vive. So I could see how this could have a learning curve to it, but. And really, it's kind of easy. Like, there's not much to it. Do you find that you have a lot of people using Rumii as their first time using a VR setup or experience at all?
Yeah, all the time, actually. So that's the one thing about doing VR is a lot of people haven't tried it. But the great thing is a lot of people have tried it as well. So as time goes on, my job in describing Rumii and all the stuff is getting easier and easier. So.
Okay, so when you try to pitch this to somebody that's never heard of it before, it comes across as basically you're using stuff that people kind of know, like Skype and GoToMeeting, right?
Right. So we basically compare it like from if you go from here, this is a Skype meeting, right? And this is where real life is, right? Rumii is somewhere in this area here.
I love how you did that with the hands. That's so solid, Doug.
It makes explanations a lot easier, right? You can use the laser hands. I have laser hands here, so you can kind of like.
How are you moving your fingers? How are you doing that?
So those thumb pads by your thumb.
Yep.
If you click on the left or right side of it, you can go cycle through your hands.
Ooh, that's cool.
Now we can have laser pointer.
I'm sure you guys have played with this for hours and hours.
It's one of the best features.
Right. So, and then you could do different fingers. Oh, you could do like a peace sign for sure, bro.
Yeah, you can count. You can high five. You can play rock, paper, scissors.
What has been the first? So you get people in here for the first time. Let's say that we get Nike to come in here. What is the thing that they want to use it for? Is it to close the physical gaps, kind of like you and I are doing?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with distributed teams, and that's how we built Rumii in the first place. Because me and Chance, another Full Sail alumni and Hall of Famer, when we started Doghead Simulations, he was living in Brazil, I was living in Seattle.
Wow.
And we wanted to make that working together better, so that's why Rumii was created, so that we can actually solve that problem.
Wow. Okay. And then, and speaking to now that we're kind of touching on that, Doghead, which came first, Doghead or Rumii?
Doghead came first. So here's a fun story. In Germany, me and Chance were kind of attending Gamescom. It's like one of the big consumer game conferences there. I think it's the biggest in the world, actually. So we were hanging out there, and we decided to go to our French restaurant. And during that, while eating duck and I don't know what other bougie French food was there, we decided to go, hey, you know what? We should make a company. Because at that time, I was working for HTC on the HTC Vive. And he just kind of quit working on Call of Duty. So we were both wondering, hey, what can we do together? We're both very talented people. And, we came up with the idea, we should make a VR game. Because, we're game developers. So the first thing we'll want to do is game development.
Right.
So we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and we came up with the idea of making this game called Bear Tender. And it's as you imagine, you're a bear bartender.
Okay.
Imagine like we're over here and I have a bar.
I was gonna say, but that works perfect when you say it like that. Bear tender. Okay, it's a bear bartender, right?
Yeah, a bear bartender. So you pour beers in VR. Actually, we have a prototype of it. Actually, eventually been Rumii, but you can pour beers and serve beers to animals or different kinds of alcohol. And the trick is, there's different kinds of animals, right? For example, a sloth, he'll kind of come in kind of slow. And as a bartender, you want to be selling drinks, right? Or hearing his order. So in order to do that, you to make it faster, you give him Red Bull. then you'll hear him kind of speaking normally at that point.
Oh wow! So this was your guys' first collaboration between you and Chance, like at all? You guys had never done anything before that?
No, we've partied before a lot. So
that can definitely make some good social connections that could lead to cool little projects like that. So then you guys did that. How long before you guys started talking about doing Rumii?
I think it took us like a few weeks. We realized how much it sucks to kind of do remote working. And and also in the back of our head, we knew that if we're gonna work on a VR game, it's not really gonna make money on the onset. For one, VR is still kind of very enthusiast driven, and there's not a lot of headsets out there. So for us to be able to like, hey, we want to be able to make games on our dime and not have to worry about money. Hey, let's make an enterprise product first, and that's where kind of Rumii came into place. Our CEO used to work at this agile company. And he said, we should probably make a meeting space where we can do remote agile stand-ups.
What's an agile stand-up? What is that?
So an agile stand-up is basically, that's the current kind of theme and how themes are run in IT and tech, is you have like these stand-ups where you kind of do it every day. It's all part of the Scrum. I mean, we can talk about it for a whole week if you want to do.
Sure. Well, no. I know it's kind of a technical thing, but I figured you could elaborate. Just
So the TLDR is stand-ups are basically how tech companies are run. You have sprints. Basically, you have all these tasks that you can do within. A sprint could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, right? And you kind of go through that sprint with a set of tasks, and every day you kind of meet up in a stand-up, right?
Sure.
But a stand-up was developed with teams being co-located, right, in the same office, and that was the whole part of it, right? Everyone's kind of like moving to countries that is not the United States and working there because it's cheaper and they want to travel, right? And that's kind of our audience, is the people who are remote or have different offices around the world.
Wow. Okay. So you guys, do you find that the moment that you guys launched this, is that where you guys had the majority of the interest with people that are doing that kind of work, like out in the field and remote software developers mostly, I'm sure?
Yeah, I mean, we had to create the interest because no one really had ever done this before, so people didn't even know they wanted it. So 2017 is the year that we had to kind of educate people on what Rumii can do for them. So now in 2018...
VR really too, because I'm sure
VR,
I mean, because there's a lot of stuff that I just through Rumii I didn't even think about honestly at all, like the ability just to be able to close the gap and talk, like I was saying. So I work in IT. I go to a Skype meeting and we're there just to do X, you know what I mean? And granted, that could be the same here, but you're adding the value of like almost a networking portion, which I looked at your, I want to say the Full Sail Hall of Fame induction 9, or what, I don't know how they name those, but it was number 9 where you were up on stage and you were talking. and you talked about how networking is super important. I think that's a huge draw for this application that you guys have developed is beyond the enterprise like functionality of solving X. You guys have the ability to network, socialize, and ultimately, I mean, that's where good business either starts or leads to is a lot of times you can get two heads in a room that are on different guys in South America, another guys in North America, and you guys can get together and look what came of just that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I could see that this is going to be one of those things that, you know, I bet we're going to see some crazy story about, I don't know. Have you guys had, what's probably the biggest name that you guys have seen interest in or even used the Rumii so far in terms of, enterprise stuff?
Well, we've had Ford use us, we had HTC use us, IBM.
What's HTC?
Yeah, I mean, I used to work there, so yeah.
I have a lot of contacts.
Right.
Yeah. We love HTC.
Amazon has used us pretty much, and some companies I can't say, but it's a lot of big companies. And here's the thing, right? Companies know that VR is important for their future, right? No one's denying that. Everyone's like in agreement. All right, VR is the way forward, right? Because it can save people so much money. It's a new way to interact with customers, with their products, everything. It just changes our paradigm of how we work.
Right.
Problem is,
these companies don't know how to do it.
right?
Sure.
They're figuring it out. I mean, we're figuring it out, right? Everyone's kind of figuring it out. So it's a lot of excitement. Problem is, there's no numbers to back it up. There's no data to say, hey, if you do, VR for this, you'll gain this much money or save this much money, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of the companies right now are the trailblazers in how VR works, and then as the market matures, the other companies who are the more conservative side are going to be more excited to jump in. So a lot of these are frontier, companies in exploring VR.
Wow, that's huge. And I could see, like, even on a, let's take it way down scale. So Spider and myself, Mr. Marcos over there, the sound engineer for A Perch of Birds podcast, he's in Orlando. And, me being in essentially in Albuquerque, but in New Mexico, I think it would be absolutely awesome to be able to actually sit next to him, and work out some of these podcast episodes, anything that we're typically over the phone, and something that small is huge. So I mean, I was just kind of pointing out that I think it's super awesome to have the ability to be able to just, even a guy like me, jump in with Spider, my engineer, and we could just work together. I mean, is it easy enough to do something like pull up a screen from a computer inside of the same environment and be able to look at that in front of myself and with a colleague who's physically somewhere else?
Yes and no. We do have this experimental screen sharing within VR. There are a lot of challenges. For example, for us specifically, we are multi-platform.
So we actually work on
PC, Mac, mobile VR. So the platforms that don't have desktops, like the the iOS, Android, and mobile VR, it's a little bit tricky because they can't really share their screens. There's also the fact that we have to stream across these very different devices, and there's different methods to do that.
And right now we're a pretty small
team. So we're kind of focusing. We do have support for PC streaming out their desktop, but it's not the best quality right now. So we're kind of still working on that part. So, but it is a very well-requested feature. But personally, I want to get away from that because the paradigm of where we're working with a 2D environment is kind of pointless to do in VR because we have so much space. We have 3D environments. Like we can have an infinite number of screens or new ways to display text, right? But as a industry, we're still kind of figuring the best way to do that.
Sure. Okay. So let me ask you this: what would be probably the most favorited feature that you guys have built in that would be unique to Rumii? I mean, that's something that you can't really screen share. But I was goofing around. I don't know if it was this. Now, there's one I was pointing at earlier. I saw a screen come up to bring in a PDF object and things like that. Do we have something in here?
Yeah, perfect that you say that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everyone to a new room.
So hold on tight.
We'll go to the small meeting room, is what we call it.
Cool. Okay, so we're in the new room. We're checking out some new features. I see that awesome artwork over there for some podcasts that everybody should check out.
All right, so let me show you the future, right? Well, actually, let me show you the past or the current, what we're doing right now.
Okay.
All right. So let's start with the PDF viewer.
Okay.
So you said you wanted to see a PDF, right? So
let me show you the best
PDF in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Right,
Puppies.
so
Everybody
this
goes with cats. I'm proud of you right now, Albert. I'm proud of you. It's a welcome change.
yeah,
I mean, we're named Doghead Simulations, right? And
That
it
absolutely
is
works. I like
it
that.
is the
year of the dog. So why would I show cats? It wouldn't make sense.
Nice.
All right, so here's the 20th century way of doing things, right? You have a 2D screen, and then you're kind of trying to, what's happening here? There we go. You're presenting it with images, right? This is what we're used to, like, giant puppies and a giant screen.
and saying, hey, look at the puppy.
Puppy. Imagine, the growth of our product is so much higher because of this puppy.
It looks so. It looks so good though, man. Like even though it's just a shot of a puppy, like that is. That, I mean, so is there any technical words on display stuff? I mean, is there any limit to that? Being that we're in the virtual world, can I play is it a 4K shot if I wanted it to be, or could
can
I
have
mean,
a 4K shot.
I mean, right now, if we're talking about specifics, we're actually downsizing a lot of the images because for performance reasons. Because loading, how the architecture is, you have to shuffle it to the GPU, and that kind of slows down the whole pipeline. And no one's really happy if that happens. So eventually,
the finished
we'll be
product
able
looks good, man.
yeah. I mean, even this is like scaled down to like a 1080p image from a 4K. It still looks pretty decent in VR. Where it kind of becomes problematic is when it becomes words. Like if I scroll up here, like with the current headsets that we have right now, we have to have bigger words so you can read it. The smaller the words get here, the harder it becomes to read. But as like we all said, right, we just kind of have to wait for the hardware to kind of catch up.
And we can do that kind of stuff.
You're talking like the next round of HTC's amazing product, right? Because I know there's supposed to be another iteration of the headset on the horizon. It's not quite here yet, but they did release a Pro version or something, right? It had a higher resolution.
Yeah, so actually we have one of those in the office here, but unfortunately my laptop doesn't have the right connectors for it. But what it does is it has 78% more pixels, so you can actually see text that are smaller.
Sure, okay.
It's better balanced.
It's lighter. It's not actually, it's heavier, but it feels lighter because it's better balanced. But it helps with productivity.
Absolutely. This is super cool though, man. I mean, I and again, like coming from, I work in what would be considered like nosebleed boring. It's not like a creative content IT. And this is like the bread and butter. I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat down and about fell asleep looking at a slideshow, but shoot, man, even these puppies, these are popping right here, man.
Puppies. All right. So
here's one piece of the 20th century technology, right?
So I'll show you the next piece.
Is the video player. Actually, let me show you what the Vive Pro looks like. So I'm gonna wait till everyone loads up. So the cool thing about this video player is we can have presentations for everyone to see, the Vive. So let me play.
Yeah, as a boy, always knew I
that's
one
cool.
day had the courage to be king. Yeah, time flew when I grew up. Now I'm ready for the promise that it brings. You only wanted me to screw up, but it's something that you're never gonna see.
Wow.
Everything that you hope for.
So is that amazing? We have this giant screen in front of us for no cost.
Yeah, and it's got to be, 150 inches if I was to try to real-life scale that? I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, we can make it even bigger. We're actually working on 360 video and like a environment where you can have a theater, so you can have a 300-foot screen if you wanted to.
Like an IMAX kind of a deal.
Yeah, you can do IMAX stuff, and you can even do the fun stuff about VR. You can do a lot of these crazy things, right? So we can actually emulate stereoscopic 3D in VR, which is kind of weird because everyone kind of hates the 3D TV, but we can actually replicate that super easily in VR and actually make it look better.
Wow. Okay. Because of the fact you've got the two lenses, right? The two eyes, because that's how the 3D stereoscopic works. Is you have two separate vantage points. Okay. Sure.
And you can kind of just directly beam the left and right images to each person's eyes. All right. So I'm done talking about the 20th century. Let's talk about 21st century, right? We're in VR, right? We have 3D. We have 3 dimensions here. So what I'm going to do is load up the heart. All right. So if you look behind you.
Wow.
So we got the
Okay,
heart.
hold on. Let me make sure I don't walk into a wall while I do this. So there's a wall right in front of me. Let me move. I'll just move my body. I got to remember that I can teleport. Here we go.
Yeah.
All Oh, that's beautiful.
So here's the 20th century way of doing. Actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, we could do all kinds of crazy scenarios in here. But for example, here we're talking about the beating heart of a human, right? So you can actually poke your head in there. I mean, we don't have it modeled we don't have it modeled in there properly. But imagine if someone actually authored the heart, where you can poke your head in there, you can see the inner workings of the heart.
This is amazing, man.
Yeah, imagine, right? We're so inundated with information, but since we are in VR, we're actually forced to focus. So students who have ADHD or can't focus, when they go in VR, they're super focused. Or people in meetings who always look at their phone, their laptops, it makes the meeting kind of miserable because no one's really focused. But here, I can control what you're looking at. You can control what I'm looking at, and we're always going to be focused.
And it's almost tangible. I mean, like my wife goes to nursing school, and I can't tell you how many. I could count probably 50 different offers of 3D this and that in order to take apart a body, but it doesn't ever give you the scale of this. I mean, to pull something out on a screen or an iPad, it doesn't have the same. Wow.
Yeah, you can even make it bigger, right? Be in the heart, yeah.
And then I can, as a instructor, I can point things out. If I'm bored and I'm looking at a car, I can point out, changes I want to make. I mean, that's this by itself just speaks volumes, man. Oh
yeah.
Wow.
It's funny you said Williams because it's 3D.
Engineer joke.
That was good. That was solid.
But yeah, and we kind of have to we kind of eliminate the in the classroom and say, imagine if.
Right. You just go like, well, let's just see the heart.
Oh, let's just pull it up.
Let's go Japan.
Yeah.
Let's pull it up. All right.
So this is a moving model of some sort. Is there a way to edit something like this that's in front of me? Like, is that something that would be custom?
That's eventually we'll be able to do that. But we do import all of these. We're kind of figuring out what the market wants, what the market needs, and kind of be cautious because it is kind of. You can go in a deep rabbit hole in what kind of customization you add, and we want to stay focused and provide what our customers actually want.
Right. If you're going to develop something, you need a project like maybe Ford, like I said, wanted to come up with something where engineers can tweak models of a motor or something like that. Man, I guess I didn't even think about that. So that's super cool. And then this can be brought in. Let's say that we had Jacob over there. If he wanted to just bring something into the meeting on the fly, is that something that I can just download it and it comes right in, or is this something that you've got to kind of set up beforehand, or is it just that easy? Bring it right in at the meeting.
Here, let me show you. Let me upload. So you still kind of have to author things right now. Let me go through here real quick. These are all huge. Well, we'll do steampunk. So, for example, have you heard of Google Poly or Facebook's new API where they can share 3D objects and all this stuff?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it in practice, though.
All right. So right now we're actually working on integrating Google Poly into Rumii so that we can actually pull up any objects that they offer. So for example, hey, we should bring in a car. All right, well, let's look at what Google Poly offers and then we can pull it in. Right now, anything we're showing are models that we've pre-created. So right now, I'm gonna do is load up the Speedpunk. And then, soon enough, you'll see a giant go-kart here pretty soon once you guys load it up.
So
there you go, you see it. So you can actually walk in here and kind of try to drive it if you want.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you won't really drive it, but you can imagine driving it.
Right.
Yeah, we can run it. Skirt, 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 skirt.
Mario Kart for days. I would never get out of this.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine this, right? So we're talking about a go-kart. Let's say we're mechanics, right? Like, oh, here's the go-kart. It's steampunk, whatever. Well, let's move it up. Let's move it on the Y. So
instead, you can have a virtual forklift and like,
hey, look underneath it. The wheels, the engine. The
links
is super cool.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that there's so much control. You know what I mean? You've got developers making games, you've got applications, but the fact that it can be customized, like, I'm just putting this thing on and I can load the car that I've been making in AutoCAD or something. That right there, man, I can, one of a kind. With this, what is the what is the implications when it comes to other companies? I mean, there's nobody else trying to do this yet, right? I mean, I'm sure that they're working towards it, but
Yeah, there's actually been a few companies. A lot of them are focused more on the 3D model aspect, right? They're like, oh, you can load 50 different CAD models and all that stuff. For us, we're actually focusing more on the overall experience. We are focusing a lot heavier on the interface, on the interactions between the two people. We've invested a lot in avatars. A lot of these other companies, it takes time. Here's the thing about VR, right? People think it's going to be easy, fast. I'm like, no, it takes time. It's like a video game, right? I mean, we all know Call of Duty or any AAA title will take 3 to 4 years to make.
And it's a video game.
And the thing is with VR, it's pretty much the same way you create a video game is the same way you create VR experiences. It takes time, it takes expertise, and we're kind of still ramping up on the number of people who can actually work in VR and understand the technology. So for us, we actually have a great advantage because we've been working on this for a long time already. So we're ahead of the curve currently at the moment.
But there's a lot of
you
people
guys
coming up.
like I said, I mean, I tried to search for anything similar, and there's not. Like, I feel like Rumii's the only game in town, and any of our listeners out there, it is the best game in town. I want to make sure that all of you guys, this is the best game in town. So you got to check out Rumii. They got 3 free accounts that you guys are 3 free users at a time for a single free account. And you guys can absolutely jump in and try out Rumii for yourselves. And I mean, are these the 3D modeler, the 21st century editions? Are these things that are available to users through the freebie account, the 3 users account?
Yeah, everything is what you see here. You can use. The only thing we limit with the free account is the number of concurrent users. As you can see, there's 5 of us here. So we have a paid account. So we have, we paid for 5. Well, we didn't pay for it because I can just tell myself.
Right.
I want 5.
You're the man.
I'm the man.
Right.
But yeah.
So, and I see a little, is this a Unity logo that I see here on the side of the tank?
Yeah, there's a Unity logo.
Yep, it is a Unity logo. Yeah, and we are built on Unity. And that's the great thing about using a game engine like Unity or Unreal is a lot of the hard work is done for us. For example, like multi-platform support, all the shaders, all the effects, the editor itself. Like if we had to build that from scratch, I would still be building the editor at this point.
Wow. So, and just for our listeners out there, Unity is essentially a programming language that allows you to program multitudes of things. Just for sake of argument, we're going to say that it lets you build games, VR, really any application, but you can output it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Elbert, in many different formats. So you could make a PS4 game, a PC game, a Vive game, if you will, and it's kind of like a universal language. Would I have that right?
It's not a language. It's actually an engine, right? The language it uses is C#.
Sure. Okay.
But it is an engine where people can kind of come in and you don't even need to know how to program to really use Unity. There's a lot of ways to use it without programming. But obviously, if you want to make something like this, you gotta be able to program at some point.
Sure, and I don't want to get too far away from Rumii, but I mean, you have a stellar resume, man, and I wanted to talk to you about the XNA stuff. Would I have that right? It was called XNA, the Microsoft development stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so you worked with essentially Windows, or you worked with Microsoft, then Windows Phone, and you kind of had you were ahead of the curve when it came to making games for the Windows Phone, right?
Yeah.
Say that the groundwork that you were utilizing there is that kind of similar to how Unity works now? Like it was XNA kind of laid it out for you, and that's how you could make. What did you make? 23 games in a year or something like that?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, long story short is, so when I was working at XNA, I was actually creating all the developer content, so the tutorials for the students, or not students, but for anyone really who wants to make something in XNA. And then I realized, like, you know what? I know how to make games in Windows Phone, and well, nobody knows how to do it. It's like, well, that's market opportunity. So I just kind of took that as an opportunity to really pump out games and be on top of the charts pretty easily. I mean, that's like gold right there, right?
Right.
And even though it's a small it's a small marketplace, but there's almost no competition, so it's pretty easy to kind of just dominate.
So I feel like you have a knack for finding those no competition areas and getting really good at them, Elbert.
It gives you a lot of heartburn. It gives you a lot of like, oh, is this really gonna work? But you just kind of have to, stick through it, and it will reward you eventually. You just have to kind of stay with it until it does.
Right, and then you also took the XNA experience as well as the other successes that you had. But when that came into you looking at like Doghead, I mean, what was the biggest challenge there? Was it finding people, or was it just like really just putting everything together? You said this takes forever to make, the pieces for this, and things like Unity kind of being like the same universal engine helps with that. But was it like a big challenge jumping from there to here? I mean, was that like a huge thing? Because you said it kind of made you feel sick. I would feel sick, man, even just trying to figure out the smallest things. I couldn't imagine starting a whole simulation studio and then on top of that starting a second company, Rumii, right?
I mean, I'm not really I'm not foreign to making my own companies. Right? I was one of the creators of a game called Habitat on Unity.
I was like looking at that. That was
like a real-time strategy game with physics, right? There's 5 of us, and we're doing it for a year. It's like the craziest thing because no one really does real-time strategy with physics-based gameplay. It's just crazy because there's too many objects. But we ended up doing it, and for me it's like and that was after being laid off from Microsoft. So for me, like being an entrepreneur is kind of pretty normal, I guess, at this point.
Creating all those games.
And I didn't really come into doing this without being prepared. Right? I was working at HTC. Same thing with XNA, right? I was working at HTC on these new headsets that no one has ever seen or ever done. So I learned a lot. And you know what? When the Vive released, I'm like, awesome. How do I make this into my opportunity now that I know how to do it? I've learned all that, and someone else paid for me to learn.
Right.
So 6 months after
6 months after the Vive launch, I decided to, this is a great gig. If I didn't have this opportunity, I would still be at HTC. So I quit and I said, I'm going to start this company. And it's starting to bear fruit right now. I mean, all that hard work, I've traveled to so many countries like, Taiwan, China, Canada, Europe, here in the United States, Brazil, talking about Rumii and really getting to know all the customers, their pain points. It's just fun. It's exciting, when you're part of a company, like when I was at Microsoft, I'm usually in an office, insulated from the rest of the world, because it's a big team. But here, I can enact change all over the world by having my own company. So it's a pretty easy decision for me. It's like it's not about being safe. It's not about being comfortable. It's about like how do I change the world? And for me, the opportunity was right there. It's like through VR because I have all these skills and knowledge, and I should apply it.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, I like the fact that money was not at a single point brought up in that whole conversation, and is why I think it was so easy to put you on our podcast because you definitely are a person pursuing greatness. I mean, you're I don't see it yet, but I feel as time goes on, I see more philanthropy to come out of Elbert because just to hear somebody talk like that has the knowledge that you do and the experience that you do, I absolutely appreciate that, man. We need more of your mindset in the tech world. You know what I mean?
And the funny thing too is, when you create your own company, you're actually gonna run out of money. Like, I had way more money when I was working at Microsoft. Now I'm, a lot more lean with expenses and all that stuff. But it doesn't matter because money comes and goes, right? But these opportunities to create these new technologies, to be the forefront. This is something you can't really buy with money, or you have to get rid of your money to be part of it. And like I tell all the students here at Full Sail, if you follow your passion, your money will follow you. You'll never have to ever chase money. It'll just kind of show up, actually.
Right.
And
I like that, man. That's so awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So and then we're at Full Sail doing this. I mean, and with that collaboration, so we went from essentially Microsoft, then you went to Vive, you went to HTC, and then from there you kind of climbed into Doghead. But where did Full Sail come in? I know you were a graduate of Full Sail, 2005, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then how did you come back around? Because I know that I saw your guys' CEO for Doghead had announced that you guys now have a partnership. Mr. Chacon, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, Mr. Chacon, yeah.
Yeah. And he was saying that you guys now have an educational partnership with Full Sail. So how did that come to fruition, and what is that all about?
Perfect segue. So let's switch rooms into a classroom. All right. So welcome to the classroom of the future. Talking about Full Sail. So to talk about Full Sail and our connection, so me and Chance were Full Sail Hall of Famers.
What that means is we graduated Chance
Glasgow. Okay, I just want to make sure he was supposed to be here, but he wasn't. But we keep saying Chance. Want to make sure we get full credit due, Mr. Glasgow.
Yeah, Mr. Glasgow is actually on a plane right now, heading to Barcelona.
That's
to
no
talk.
excuse. He should still be on the headset on the plane. No.
I mean, he
No,
could.
so-
There is Wi-Fi on the plane. It might just be very spotty and he's dropping in and out.
Gonna come
we'll
and
solve
go.
we'll solve the plane problem soon.
Yeah.
But me and Chance are Full Sail Hall of Famers.
What that means is we graduated at least 10 years ago, and we've
Okay.
done some achievements. Chance Glasgow obviously has some pretty big achievements. He helped create Call of Duty, a multi-billion-dollar industry, a titan of gaming, right? But
Right.
he got sick of it, right? I mean, you're doing something for 12, 13 years, you kind of, eventually go, I should do something else. And
Tired of winning, right? You got tired of winning.
Yeah, exactly.
And for us, like, me and Chance, we want to change how the world operates and make it better, and that's really what's driving us. And with given that opportunity with us and Full Sail, so like, you know what, we should probably talk to Full Sail, see what we can offer them, what they can offer us, and being who we are within the school, it was an easy conversation, and we kind of talked to them for a whole year and a half. And eventually, we were able to ink that deal of providing Rumii to them, and then they provided this office for us to be able to innovate. We call this an innovation center. Actually, we call it the Doghouse.
Because we're
Doghouse. Yeah.
But, not the bad doghouse. Like, your
Wife put you in the doghouse kind of thing. But it's
Good things happen.
it's a good things happen.
so where we are right now is the classroom. As you can see, it's an auditorium style, so we can actually teleport down here if you want.
Okay.
So as you can see, it's very reminiscent to a college, right? So what we're trying to do is to make students feel like they're at home, right? What they're used to, a classroom setting. Let me pull up some stuff here. For example,
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't. Let me upload some images for you. I hope you're.
Okay.
Do you like football?
Yeah, I'll dig football.
Do you like who's your team?
God, see, you got to put me on the spot, Elbert. Cowboys?
Cowboys. Well, we'll pull up the Seahawks. There we go. Super Bowl 48. A lot better. I'm a Seahawks fan if you didn't notice.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, well, honestly, okay, I'll be straight with you. The only football game I watched all year was the Super Bowl. I know I'm a bad American. I'm
All
sorry.
right. We'll bring up puppies up here.
As you can see, like, I'm just kind of actually, what else do we have here? Pro Tools. Well, someone uploaded Pro Tools shortcuts. This is what you guys do. Yeah, Pro Tools. So as you can see up there,
The text isn't that good, right?
so here's another cool feature. So if you look below you, there's this little control panel over here.
See that floating in front of you?
Yeah.
If you press the I, you have a picture-in-picture view.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah. So you can
That is
actually click
cool.
on the
PDF viewer here, and let me zoom in here so you can actually read it.
So I can jump between my screens. Oh, wow, that is super cool.
Yeah, so even if you're back in the back end of the classroom, you can actually see the front very clearly. And this is a feature that kind of came out of the classroom setting. So another cool thing too, the reason we created that feature, because we actually use Rumii in Full Sail as to provide classes.
Oh, that's cool.
So right now we're running in game design. We have 2 classes running as a pilot program. So what we're doing is we have like, at least 10 to 20 students every time, and we teach them about vector math, which is actually pretty hard to teach in real life. So here's a good example, right? In real life, you don't have these laser hands. Do you know anything about vectors?
I don't want to say yes because I don't think I do. I don't know enough.
All right. So vectors are basically directions, right? So it could be, this vector's going that way, it's going this way. It's basically a magnitude and a direction.
Okay.
So to explain that in real life, it's kind of hard with just using your fingers. Oh, imagine this line going up there. But in VR, we can just go like, well, this line over here is going over there. So if you do a dot product or a cross product, whatever,
Right.
you get this, So just even these simple tools like the laser pointers have actually changed the way we teach people, or kids rather. And we've only scratched the top part of it. And as we kind of go through teaching, we'll change the curriculum. Right now, we're still very heavy on PDFs and PowerPoints, but more and more we'll be using like field trips, right? Field trips are the future. you don't even need to leave the classroom or even your home, right?
Right? You just
You
bring
go
the
to the
whole
moon on your
classroom.
Vive.
Yeah, you can go to the moon and have the teacher talk about the moon. Here's the Apollo landing site. Here's the footsteps. Here's the flag.
Sure, or vector math.
Or math, right? Or
Right,
English
okay,
literature,
okay.
or video, you name it.
Any single thing in the classroom can be taught in VR. Obviously, some things might be better in real life, but most of it you can do it better or just as good in VR.
Sure. Dude, this is super cool. I love the ability to be able to multitask, because I don't know how many times I'll see crap on the board, and if you're in the back, that legitimately can hinder your ability to learn compared to the guy in the front. Specifically, if it's something complicated like vector math, that I would not. I would have to be able to get nice up close and personal. Not just for you guys that can't see on the podcast that may just be listening. So what we did is we transported to another holding room. And of course, you guys really should check out the YouTube video to get the full feel of what we're looking at. But I'm standing in a classroom, a virtual classroom, and I'm looking at giant, I don't even want to say a size, maybe a 20-foot high, maybe 30-foot high screen in front of me. And I've got two separate pieces of information that on the fly, I can use my own heads-up display to choose a picture-in-picture window, which I'm not sure if that is seen by you guys out there, seeing me pull it up. But this picture-in-picture is awesome because I can compare two pieces of data, or I can be working on two different scenes. And Elbert, you seem to be Picassoing that picture. So this is what a teacher could do to show plays or to make a smiley face or
Yeah, so we actually have whiteboard features too. So every single one of these widgets I can kind of annotate. So if you can see up there, I'm annotating, like, for example, if I want to talk about the mix window over here, I can just highlight it with, let's say, red. Highlight it red and give attention to it. Something you can't really do in real life, right? So I could annotate video if I wanted to and all the fun stuff.
That is super cool. And then I'm going to see if these changes come up in my picture-in-picture. Oh, yeah. So I can see that. And then it happens in real time too, right? When you go to write on there?
Yeah. And I can clear it out, It's like, I didn't like that. I can do more here and more red here kind of thing. So
Man, this is
obviously,
super cool.
these features are still kind of, in my opinion, very rough. There's a lot of ways we can do it. We're working on things where you can just write in the air, kind of like how Tilt Brush and Medium is doing it.
Because that's really
I have seen Tilt
appealing.
Brush, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really appealing to a lot of people. But that is a product unto itself. So we're kind of like focusing on, hey, how do we fix the problems that are plaguing the students right now? And then once we've solved that, then we can kind of move forward into, all right, how do we take it to the next level? How do we, bring it to where it's supposed to be in VR? And the one thing I say about VR is we would have done a proper VR experience or application if it makes total sense in VR, but it doesn't make sense to do it in the real world. That's when you know you've done something right.
Right, and I would think that a lot of times the geographical boundaries is one of the biggest things that makes this appealing, because I can close the gap. I remember my degree that I got, my itty bitty associates I got from University of Phoenix. I did that on a computer, in a trailer way down south, running off of a Wi-Fi bridge, man, from a cell tower. So and I remember the hardest thing for me was learning programming. Funny enough. Through a book and through essentially just reading. I didn't have a teacher to interact with. It was all online. And something like this would have just for me to be able to whiteboard and say, this stupid problem doesn't make sense with this stupid problem. And to be able to point at it and draw it, I mean, that reinforces learning, man. So I can, and to have somebody do something over and over and to watch them do it. No, you're doing it wrong. Let me show you, blah, blah, blah. I think that those are the things that actually teach people. And that, to me, is a big challenge in educational system. And Rumii may be the answer, man.
Yeah,
maybe the answer.
Funny that you say trailer. Have you read Ready Player One?
I haven't, and I need to, and I know the movie's coming out soon.
All right. So the funny story is, so the main character actually lives in the trailer, and he goes to a virtual school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for us,
I totally just gave away the whole thing.
It's a synopsis thing, but the cool thing about it is, you were experiencing what the main character in Ready Player One is experiencing, except you didn't have VR. But imagine if you had VR, how much would you have learned more? How much better you're at what you're doing right now, or just maybe you're in a completely different field because you learned something different that you wouldn't have done if you're just looking at a 2D screen.
Right, or picked it up faster, and then that way maybe you can move on to something bigger faster, because that was one of my problems is I would just beat my head against the wall, And the only option I had was to get in on a monitor, and there was a 2D whiteboard that I could write on with some guy that was elsewhere. But this connection wasn't there. And I wasn't going to be able to just point and be like, I'm frustrated.
You can someday I'll give everyone Hulk hands if they're really frustrated, and
I'm a smash. I can smash everything.
Yes.
This is super cool, man. So do you guys? Is this being used in production at Full Sail right now? Something like this?
Yeah. Actually, what day is it today? We had a class yesterday that used this.
Wow.
So
that is super cool, man.
Yeah. And another cool thing too, if you notice, right, for any online learning class, it kind of sucks for most people, right? And the biggest reason it sucks is because it's not social. Because imagine this, right? Throughout our whole life, we learn in a social environment, right? In a classroom, in a field trip, you're always seeing other kids, other people, you're interacting as you learn. But when you go online learning, as it is right now with 2D screens, a website, you get rid of all that social learning, right? And that's a big part of how we learn, and you're taking it out, right? And it feels alien, it feels unnatural. But with VR, you bring it all back, right? We could be 10 students in here, 20 students, and then we can interact and learn together.
Right, you got little Bobby Joe in the corner that's annoying. You can actually be able to tell him to shut up. It's not just a guy in the chat window.
Or you don't even tell him shut up. He can he's muted. Oh, he's running around. Oh, actually, you're gonna stay put, and he can't do anything about it.
You're locked, sir. Yeah, all that shouting for nothing. See them waving their hands violently in the corner quietly.
And, oh wait, even that's disruptive. All right, let me take out your hands. I was like, oh.
That's cool. And I'm guessing, I didn't even think about that. I'm guessing that's something that teachers would love to be able to do, just like mute, poke at different kids to say
exactly.
More.
And for every single instructor we're talking, that is a feature. Like, I love that feature. Please give it to me.
Of course.
You have it.
That's cool. Well, that to me, man, that's cutting edge. I love the idea of Rumii being ahead of the curve on that, because I love the fact that, again, I come back to it. All I hear about is you wanting to make the human experience better, and because you're talking about that, I mean, it's only going to do good things for education and science and stuff like that. You're not trying to make the next big Skype, but I feel like this is definitely replace Skype, man. I think what's going to end up being the next barrier, if you ask me, for you guys, that needs to come down is the part that you 100% cannot control, which is the cost of an HTC Vive. You know what I mean? I mean, because I've got avatars in here using computers, but who do you think, or what should I say, what hardware is used more often with Rumii right now? Is it the Vive?
The Vive is the highest right now. Oculus is close second, and then desktop. And like we said, right, we just need to wait. I mean, there's a lot of these new headsets coming out this year. 2017 was kind of like a weird year because people were expecting a yearly refresh for the headsets, and didn't quite happen in 2017 because the Vive, Oculus all came out in 2016. Imagine that's like almost 2 years ago, or it's actually 2 years ago at this point. So that's a long time to wait, right? But in 2018, there's all these new products coming out: the Vive Pro, the Vive Focus, the Oculus Go, the Oculus Santa Cruz. And that new class of devices, the all-in-ones, as we call them, basically you don't even need a computer. Everything's contained in the headsets. And that is key to democratizing VR. Is like, here's a headset, put it on, it just works. Because right now, as we were setting this up, there's a lot of issues of like the cords, the microphone,
right?
Tracking's losing,
Yeah, we need 3 unicorns and a wizard in order to cast a spell and then break the highest mountain and the highest peak somewhere. It works.
It works. But as we get there, right, we just need to make sure. I mean, at least for us in Doghead, we want to be there when it happens, right? It's too late already at this point to just start a company and hoping to get something out that's really good quality for all-in-ones for a social environment, right? So this was all predicated back in 2016 when we started developing this, knowing that, in 2018, 2019, that's really where everything's going to ramp up. Consumer adoption. Yeah, exactly. But we needed that time to develop, to learn, to figure out what's going to work, and we're getting closer and closer.
It's just like Mr. Glasgow was saying, he said, with animation, one of the biggest things that's hard to learn until you're actually doing it is the timing. And you guys, I feel like, Elbert, you're damn good at timing, man. Because that seems to be how you guys are getting this down, because this is the calm before the storm, just like you said. I think when we can get, I tinker with some cutting edge stuff, like when we finally get the ability to have fully wireless headsets, which in this case, I think the all-in-one would probably be the best way to go, or something like Li-Fi. I'm sure you've heard of the Wi-Fi that goes over light.
The wide gig.
Right. Well, and that's what that's kind of something I know is it's experimental, but it's getting to the point now where they can actually come up with gigabit throughput, wirelessly through just light. And if you get headsets that have an adapter for that or something like that, I mean, you can trim a lot of the fat. I have, a headset cable. I've got a triple headset cable going to that, and then I've also got my wands on my hands. And with what Albert's saying is an all-in-one would probably just be the headset with no cables attached, and then you would have probably some form of wands. I would think you have to have something in order to articulate.
Well, here's the cool thing is,
you don't have to, right? There's these, Magic Leap actually did this years ago, where you can track your hands just using a camera and the depth sensor.
Wow.
So the new Vive Pro actually has 2 RGB cameras that can do hand tracking. So with the new Vive Pro, I don't even need the wands. I can just use my hands. But obviously the hands have its own set of problems, right? Field of view. You don't really have there's no triggers, there's no buttons. So you have to figure out the best ways to do interaction that way. But it doesn't matter, because we'll figure it out, and it'll be cool. We just put on a headset and everything works.
Right. Or glasses. Oh my gosh. Gosh.
Eventually, we'll just have contact lenses, or maybe we'll just plug straight to the Matrix and we'll have batteries. And
Albert, I have faith that there's going to be a new glasses-only headset. It's going to be a Rumii HTC mashup, and it's going to be a one-of-a-kind deal. 2025. I'm calling it right now.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Call it the Morgan edition, the Perch of Birds edition, APOB.
Perch of Birds. Yeah, Perch of Birds. Perch of Birds.
Yeah, it's just exciting, because for us, we just, a lot of times we just get surprised, like the rest of the consumers, because of secrecy and all these hardware manufacturers. Hey, this new feature is available, and then our minds start trading. Oh, how do we use it? How do we adopt it?
How do we utilize that?
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we actually built Rumii with that in mind, because we knew personally that the controls are going to change and evolve as we go through VR, because the headsets are pretty straightforward, right? Because you just kind of put it on your head and take over someone's vision. But the hands and control inputs, they're the most complicated ones in any VR setup. Tricky. Or even for us, right? So we have to support a Vive controller, a Oculus controller, the Daydream controller, a mouse and keyboard, hand tracking, no hand tracking.
And each with its own set of unique issues, I'm sure, to bring it all under what would be kind of a proprietary, Rumii, right? I mean, because you have to make them all talk to Rumii.
Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about that is Unity does a lot of that heavy lifting for us. So for us, it becomes more of a design issue. How do I design Rumii so that it works well across all these different control schemes without giving up fidelity or giving up ease of use, right? It's a very, very fun challenge, because you don't really get to see these kinds of problems in, working on mobile phones or the normal computer.
Or joysticks and keys. Yeah. I see what you're saying. That's such a unique concept, man. So where do you guys develop stuff at? Do you guys have a Rumii you guys go into that's like kind of decked out? Do you have anything do you have anything that you could pull up that's kind of crazy looking?
So we actually all mostly work from home. I mean, our goal with Rumii is to be distributed, right? And we actually eat our own dog food, another dog reference just for you. And for those who don't know, eating dog food means using your own product. Because, if it's good for dogs, then it's good enough for humans. That's
right. Okay.
Some dog company was talking about that. But anyway, eating your own dog food. So we work from home. As we all know, working from home has a lot of benefits, right? Less distractions. You can work your life around, your work revolves around your life rather than your life revolves around work.
Right, you can keep pajamas on all day, no problems.
Or wear nothing, or who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, because in Rumii, we all look professional and with their suits.
How dare you? This is exactly how I look all the time.
Exactly.
So another cool thing too is, or one of the downsides of remote working is, or was, people felt disconnected from each other.
Yeah.
But luckily, we're working on a program that kind of tells you or makes people get connected again through the presence of VR. So
Sure.
we actually have very little issues in working remotely because we have all these tools that kind of help us work as a company.
Yeah.
So that kind of works out for us.
Oh, that's cool. Well, and I thought maybe you guys would have like a spot where you're testing, let's say, a piece of programming for Rumii. You might have like a Rumii development virtual room, if you will.
Oh,
like
I see.
something
Something
I can go in there and trash around. But I mean, I feel like just in here, I could bring up the Beating Heart and I'd still be able to test it and play with it. But I mean, is this kind of like the space that you use to develop though? Is something like standing in here? Okay.
Yeah. We work here. And we have a physical space too at Full Sail if we need to physically see each other. But most of the time we just kind of do it in the levels. I mean, it is designed to be a working environment, right?
Right.
So I don't see why we should build an ugly working room rather just be in the beautiful spot.
I don't know. I thought maybe you could have like I would be like on Mars, dude, and then like all my stuff I'd be sitting in. Because have you ever seen?
You say Mars?
Did you say Mars?
Did you say Mars?
I believe I did.
I can fix that. So let's actually move up. I can bring us to Mars. We're in Mars.
Oh yeah. Here we are.
Hello, Mars. And here we are. We're at Mars. I mean, I don't know if Mars actually looks like that outside, but this is my interpretation of Mars. Very low poly.
It's pretty close,
Mars.
man. Look, I see the rover over there.
Hello. Yeah. Very low poly rover.
No, the only reason why I was asking is I played Heavy Rain. Have you ever played Heavy Rain?
I know about it.
Sound
very
familiar?
heavily.
Yeah, I won a bunch of awards. I've never played it, but I've watched the videos.
I think it would be super cool of you just to, even if not go through it, but you could, I'm sure, YouTube it. But there's actually a spot in there where you sit at a table and he's like a detective. And when you sit at the table, he puts on a pair of glasses and you're able to choose in the game like 5 or 6 different settings that, this was before the Vive, of course, that are just like this concept. Like I can say, I want to be in a classroom and bam, you're there. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, we're using a controller. It was a PS3 or a computer at the time, whatever you're using. But you could change it to Mars and then you could pull up your files right in front of you and the Minority Report them out of the way, like kind of do the whole, move them and get things that, yeah. So I thought that was the coolest thing because on my way over here, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I bet that's kind of the idea is like if I'm at home and I'm working on something and I'm Elbert or I'm one of the, I'm Chance, I'm somebody at home developing and stuff like that. I'm going to sit in the moon while I'm working on something, I'm going to switch it out. I'm going to go over to, I don't know, New York or something, just some traffic going on. I don't care. Something different than my boring desk.
Funny thing that you bring up Minority Report because I remember when we were first building, even at HTC, when we were building it out, everyone's like, I want Minority Report. I want my files played out. And we're like,
right.
Are you a gorilla? Can you hold up your hands for 4 hours and be productive doing this?
That's true.
You'll super jack or your shoulders will be messed up.
The other, right?
And we're so used to like resting our hands somewhere, keyboard, mouse. So actually what we've happened, and the reason why our control scheme is like this, like laser pointer, is because people are kind of lazy. They want to just do this.
I just want to point stuff.
That's so good that you were susceptible to that right away, man. Because that's very true.
Yeah, because we watched the behind the scenes, and just knowing that Tom Cruise for that scene had to have things on his shoulders to help him keep it up, because they're shooting for hours, right? So literally, and Tom Cruise is a very fit guy, and he's still a lot younger back then, and just having him constantly do this was like not good for him. So I'm like, yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, that's and that's something I didn't even think about is the hands, because that would get tiring. Like just typing on my own, if I don't get to rest my hands to type, I'm on fire. Like everything hurts and you got to take a break, But I couldn't imagine like having to type on nothing and having no support. That would be. So are you guys are you guys working on anything that has any sort of if you were to try to write something, and you wanted to bring up like a document, do you guys have like anything that edits documents, or is that not a thing yet? That's something you guys are probably moving towards.
We're moving towards it. So right now so in order to keep the company kind of moving forward and focus, there's a lot of features that we kind of avoid. So right now we're more in the collaboration part and presenting. We're not yet quite in the productivity part, because right now, we're in the headsets right now. You can kind of eventually you start feeling the weight on your neck. The ergonomics isn't very good.
So
You have to stand essentially the whole time, well, more or
yeah.
less.
Yeah, you can sit down. You can lay down if you want. No one's stopping you.
I guess that's true.
yeah.
But the thing is, so right now, as we stand right now, it's still more effective to use the mouse and keyboard in front of the monitor, right?
Sure.
Until we're close enough to that point where VR can take that over, we're kind of
Not
We're
ignoring
relegated
it,
to it.
we're going to use that for that and concentrate on what VR does best, and that's being social, collaboration, presenting. So.
Oh, that's huge, man. Well, I think Rumii is going to be the literally going to be the next thing that kind of shows us, because what do you have with HTC? You really just have games. But this is the first time I've actually seen an application where you can utilize it to. At the end of the day, I'm just going to say it is to make money, because that's what businesses are interested in is collaborating, teamwork, growth. Coming up with creative content, and doing that in person is a huge barrier when you've got teams that are working remotely. So I think that you've definitely, if anything, if not being the first ones to do it, I think you've opened a door that a lot of people are going to try to get through. So I really appreciate you letting me check this out, man. This has been super cool, Elbert, and thank you guys for showing me all the little goodies you guys got here, because I'm sure this isn't part of the normal build, right? To be able to put Mars out there.
Oh, it is actually part of the normal thing.
Oh, sweet. So you guys can get Mars if you guys go to Rumii.net. Is that what it is?
Yes, Rumii.net. You can download the new build is actually out now too. So it was well improved from the last one we've put out there.
So you guys can put Mars outside. You guys can put 40-foot screens and throw some projections up, and definitely make some really cool leaps into some stuff that I've never seen being used on the Vives. So definitely check that out. And then Doghead Simulations Studios. What is it? .com. Okay.
Dogheadsimulations.com.
Dogheadsimulations.com. And then are we going to see any more projects come out of Doghead, or is it right now Rumii's just the main focus that you guys are working on?
So Rumii is our platform. There's going to be a lot of things built on top of Rumii that we'll take advantage of. We are a small team, so we will focus on Rumii for the near future. Who knows what the future holds, right?
I've got a good buddy of mine. I got to give him a shout out, because I hadn't used a Vive until he had brought me along. But my buddy Dave that I work with, he's actually one of the few Unity certified. He just recently got Unity certified in Albuquerque, and he is actually looking for collaboration. So if you guys know of anybody that's looking for some work in Albuquerque, I know a guy.
I'll keep him in mind.
Sounds good, man. Well, Elbert, you got anything else for me, man? I mean, I don't really have much in the way of talking Vive. I definitely am loving this podcast in the VR world. I think I would love to do this again if you'd be game, man, in the future.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and if you want to use it with your other guests, please feel free to use it with them. And I like it too, because I've done a lot of podcasts, right? It always feels weird just talking to a microphone or talking to someone's picture.
Absolutely.
But here we're having a more natural conversation.
Yeah, you can do the running man, dude.
Or the running man, or
you got that down.
Your podcast. You do all kinds of things. You can lay down. You can have a cup of coffee, but you gotta have a straw.
Right. You gotta find a way. You could do a backpack. Do like a Camelback with some Gatorade. Like NASCAR does.
Exactly. Yeah. The other person would even know you're drinking.
Right. That's true. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you very much, Elbert, and I guess we'll wrap this thing up. I'm getting close to Hinkle's opening up, and thank you, Hinkle's, for letting us come here and use the Vive. Yeah, we're waving. They're Elbert's waving. Everybody's saying hi. So yeah, and then thank you, Full Sail, because you guys are actually at Full Sail in a classroom right now, right? Okay.
What used to be a classroom, but now it's our office.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys are actually at Full Sail. So thank you, Full Sail. Thank you, Doghead. Thank you, Elbert. Thank you, Rumii. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Spider. I know you can hear me, bro. Cool, guys.
Oh, well, yeah.
All right, give me a let's do something new, like a bro slap.
What's up? How we do this?
And I'm back. And all right, slap forward, and I'm back, and then high five.
High five. See, what I do, me and my 7-year-old, we do a lean over, and we don't have a leg to do it, but you got to lean over and grab the ankle. You lean over and grab the ankle. That's the shakes.
All right.
There you go. We're ankle grabbing. So it's a front, back, a front, a back, a high five, and then an ankle. Give me that ankle action.
That's a first.
That's going to be the official Perch of Birds Rumii podcast shake, man. Like when I come in, you'll know it's me.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool, man. All right, Albert. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you, Morgan.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
All right, bye. Hey guys, we had a lot of people that helped us out with this podcast. We just want to mention a few of you guys. First and foremost, Elbert Perez, thank you so much for coming on and talking all about Rumii, Doghead Simulations. You guys are amazing. We love everything that you guys have done and continue to do. And the philanthropist, entrepreneurial spirit is strong with you guys. That's why we had you guys on. Thank you, and we hope to do many more of these episodes that are like this. Hinkle Family Fun Center, Colleen, thank you so much for letting us use your facilities. We want to thank everybody there that made that possible, because that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for you guys. Down in Florida, we also had at Full Sail University, we had digital camera guys that were shooting this whole thing. That's where you guys get that YouTube video from. We got Mr. Jacob Appleby on one of those cameras, Mr. Nick Camacho, Joey Cassell, or Casal, he's going to shoot me. I don't know what the last name, how you say it. I'm white boying it, Casal. Live footage was shot by Charity Gibson and also by Giovanni Christian. Thank you guys very much. And the video was edited by none other than Gabriela Lima and Matthew Zaccoli. Thank you very much for that. And Mr. Marco Spider Gomez, that you can find at emanatesounds.com, all the works that he does. He's responsible for everything that you guys hear from A Perch of Birds. Literally everything goes through that man. He is like the Beethoven for A Perch of Birds. Besides myself and Mr. Beethoven, we also have Mr. Emilio Fox Sandoval. That dude has input on everything that we do as well, including everything that you guys see that is written. So everything that comes up, I may pin it, Spider might pin it, but Mr. Fox edits all that stuff down. So thank you guys very much for everything that you do, and we couldn't have done this without you. All right, peace, love, and we hope to see you guys on the other side.